This is the complete and full gathering guide to Albion Online in 2025. We're going to be covering everything from beginner, intermediate to expert information, secret techniques, hidden mechanics with gathering, how to absolutely min-max your silver per hour for solo players. Everything there is to know about gathering will be in this video. This is going to be a very long and detailed video. And also, we're going to cover laborers and islands to improve your gathering gains. Now, real quick, let me teach you how to navigate this video. So at the top of the screen will be the topic that is being discussed. You can also open the video's description right here on YouTube and click the timestamps for whatever subject you want to skip to or know about. What is gathering? Gathering is mining metal, which is known as a prospector. These little subtitles are important for later. Mining stone, which makes you a stone cutter. Skinning animals, which is called a gamekeeper. Harvesting fiber, which is cropper. Woodcutting, which is the lumberjack. And fishing, which is being a fisherman. The words in parentheses are what you will use to search up and buy journals or laborers. And this stuff is much later in the video, we'll talk about that, but it's how we're going to squeeze out extra silver per hour when we gather. Alright, so what makes the most silver? Well, in safe zones, that is blue and yellow zones, tiers 4, 5, and 6, skinning is the best way to make silver because skinning animals, certain animals have a chance to drop a baby, which can be raised as a mount or sold, and so that one, bar none, makes it the best because it has more % chance to make you more silver. Next up is fiber, wood, and stone is kind of a wild card. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then metal, you'll see these little asterisks. We're going to talk about metal. And then finally, fishing. Fishing in tier 4, 5, and 6 zones is not that profitable, simply because of bots. Bots drive the price down. Yes, this game does have gathering bots, and while there are bots that gather all of the resources, there are more fish bots than anything else, unfortunately. Now, let's talk about stone. Stone tier 4, which is known as travertine, is absolutely awful. It is the worst resource in the game. It sometimes is even cheaper than trashed items, which have no use whatsoever. Travertine is, especially on West and even Asia, is bottomed out to the point where it's basically worthless. However, tiers 2 and tier 3 stone can fluctuate in price so high that it becomes worth it to harvest it over anything else. And it gets really, really high up. I'm talking tier 2 stone, not even bricks, can go upwards to 200 silver each sometimes. Alright, now metal is on all servers. Metal is controlled by what is known as the cartel, which is a group of players who congregate in a Discord using spreadsheets, and they have complete and total control over the player shops, and so they drive the price down as low as possible because they use it to make their profit most of the time. Metal sometimes does fluctuate, but most of the time it is the most controlled substance in the game, so it is generally cheap. And then as far as, again, fish goes, fish sometimes fluctuate higher in price when the game has what is called a fame week, which is like a celebration or a holiday where everyone gets more fame for doing things, so people tend to buy out all the fish to level up their fishing skill, because fishing can be leveled up by just eating fish rather than actually fishing. Now, in full loot zones or dangerous zones where you can drop and lose all of your stuff when you die to other players, fishing is actually the #1 silver maker. Next up is skinning. Again, due to baby drops, you can get higher-end mounts like wolves and even the mammoth cub, which is one of the most expensive items in the game that you can get. And it's very rare. You'll probably never see one. I've been playing for like 4 or 5 years. I've never seen one. But stone, fiber, and metal is next. And then wood is actually the cheapest of all materials, mostly due to the large amounts of forest biomes in the black zones, as well as a lot of Zerg guilds constantly gathering in those areas. Now, what is the safest gathering professions if you do choose to go into full loot zones? that is mining and stone cutting, simply because the miner's boots and the stone boots give you the best escape spell. Next up is fiber, because it is the quietest of gathering professions. And next up after that is wood. And then skinning is quite dangerous because the mobs are much more difficult to fight. You have to kill the mobs in order to skin them. And they can knock you around. They can knock you far away, unsummoning your mount. And it's very loud to fight them. If you're using AoE abilities, another player can run up into your AoE spell or area of effect and unsummon your mount. And then you're stuck having to run away, and it's very difficult. Fishing is the most dangerous profession because when you are fishing at, say, a lake or a river, you only have 180 degrees in which you can run away from, and the gankers will have that area covered, so it's very hard to escape when using fishing sets. But also, the fishing minigame does tend to make your eyes stuck in the middle of the screen rather than on the edges, so it's harder to notice players. Fishing makes a lot of noise, so it's harder to hear players approaching. It is just, out of everything, it is the most dangerous to do. Alright, what about the easiest? Well, wood cutting is the easiest because it is the easiest to see. There are tons of trees everywhere in forest biomes. It is very easy to spot these resources on the edge of your screens and just as you travel about. All you do is you click on the wood, your character chops it down. Fiber, metal, and stone are much smaller in size and harder to see, but they follow the same thing as wood cutting. You just, when you see them, you click on them, your character will harvest them. After that is skinning. Skinning requires you to not only find a group of enemies, of creatures, of animals to skin, you have to attack them and kill them, and then you will begin skinning them. A lot of animals will cut you and make you bleed or poison you, meaning that you can't exactly start skinning until your character, heals from the debuff. But also, skinning, again, it makes a lot of noise. It takes more time than the other ones because instead of just clicking on a dead body, you've got to actually make the dead body first. And then fishing is the hardest simply because of the fishing minigame. It tends to cramp a lot of people's hands, and it takes a lot of time in order to get the fish. And there's not very many places on certain maps where you can even fish from in the first place. And there's a lot more mechanics to fishing than the other gathering professions. I am brand new to the game. What is the best gathering to pick? And the answer is skinning. Why should you pick skinning as your first profession to max out all the way to tier 8? And the answer is it makes the most money due to baby drops. It also levels up the weapon and offhand you are using, though not by much when compared to fighting, say, open world creatures. It also gets you used to fighting in combat and moving around and fighting multiple targets. And it is always in demand. Leather is always in demand. It is one of the most in-demand resources in the game. All PvE and PvPers use leather armor, and most of the better meta weapons that people use also use leather. So leather and hides never ever bottom out, and when you get those baby drops, you are getting just an extra little paycheck on top of what you're already doing. And there is a chance to get gathering tomes whenever you gather from tier 4 and up resources. And the skinning gathering tomes sell for more than anything else in the game. How should I go about progressing my gathering leveling journey? So, first off, a lot of people are going to tell you, a lot of people are very opinionated about this, but I have done thorough testing with hundreds and hundreds of hours and even hundreds of videos to show and back up the data. So, pick one gathering profession. This is how you min-max your silver per hour, but also unlock more gathering faster. So, you're going to pick one gathering profession, and if you're brand new, I recommend skinning because it makes the most money, and you will only gather that one resource while wearing the gathering gear set, not wearing combat armor, wearing the gathering set, until you have tier 8 unlocked. Every time you go up in a tier, you will then buy that gathering set. So at the start of the game, you will have to buy a tier 2 skinning knife. And then when you unlock tier 3 skinning, you will buy the tier 3 skinning knife. Then you will buy the tier 4 skinning knife, the Avalonian version when you can afford it. If not, you just buy the regular skinning knife. and you buy the tier 4 gathering gear, which is helmet, chest piece, and boots. And you will sell your old stuff as you outgrow it. Then when you unlock tier 5, you get the tier 5 Avalonian skinning knife, tier 5 gathering set. You will rinse and repeat this all the way till tier 8, until you have a full tier 8 gathering set and the tier 8 Avalonian tool. And then you can level up the next gathering profession you want. So what does that look like? Well, an Avalonian tool, this is the Elder's Avalonian skinning knife. This is a tier 8 Avalonian skinning knife. You can see here that it increases gathering yield by 20%. What does this mean? This essentially means, not exactly, but mostly, every 5 things that I gather, I will get 1 for free. Alright? Now, a tier 8 gathering set, let's look at this one. This is the mining set. So if I equip this tier 8 miner's cap, every time this thing stacks a buff, up to 10 buffs, each piece does this, because if you put on gathering gear, unlike other games, you have to wait a little bit until you get the full benefit, okay? That way, you don't swap combat gear and gathering gear constantly. The game kind of prevents you from doing this. If you want to gather, you have to set in your gathering set. Now, this stacks a buff of 1.75% every 30 seconds up to 10 times, or 17.5% gathering yield. Next up is the boots, also giving 17.5% gathering yield, and then the chest piece giving 35% gathering yield. So that is, the armor pieces will give you 70% bonus gathering yield, and then the Avalonian tool will give you another 20%, giving you a 90% bonus gathering yield, which means almost every time you gather that thing, you will get 2 of those things instead. And you're not really going to, as you level up, the fame that you get in this game, experience points, is called fame, and you fame up your gathering set. So whenever you have these sets equipped, because you're getting more resources, you're also getting more fame. So also, kinda, sorta, think of gathering yield as an experience bonus. So I see these guides out there. I see these guides telling new players that they should wear a combat gear set and gather. No, you shouldn't. You will level much slower, and you will not make as much silver unless you are wearing the gathering set. What is the fastest way to level up gathering? So, step number 1, you need to use learning points to advance to the next tier, not to level up the same tier. So let me explain what that is, and let me show you. So when you push B, you open the Destiny board, and when you scroll down, you'll have the trainee gatherer right here, kind of down and a little bit to the right. It's the blue line. And they might be redoing the colors soon, so, anyway. So, whenever you want to unlock tier 4 gathering, you'll be gathering using a tier 3 tool. And whenever your gathering reaches 20%, you can then spend learning points to advance it to the next level. And learning points are right here at the top. You earn 10 per day if you do the daily challenge, which is just killing mobs and gathering. You'll do it automatically. Or if you have premium, you get 30 a day. Also, Europe right now, they can buy a pack for $100 that gives them like 25,000 learning points. But that's pay to win stuff. We won't worry about that. Now, once you advance to the next tier, you don't want to keep leveling this up. So if we look right here, this is Adept Fiber Harvester. I can spend 11 learning points and make this level 51. We don't want to do that. Instead, you want to go down to the area. It'll be gray on your screen, but because I have it leveled up, it's unlocked already. And it'll be like grayed out. And you'll click on it, and you'll notice there's a little line here. And once the experience threshold passes that line, you can click this learn button. You just need 1 level of each of these little bubbles here. So that's Expert Tier 5, Master Tier 6, Grandmaster Tier 7, and then finally Elder, which is Tier 8. You just, again, you need only 1 level to unlock it to wear the gear and use the tool. Now, in order to maximize your fame gain, you always want to use the highest tier tool, preferably Avalonian if you can afford it, which, if you gather, you'll be able to quickly afford it within 1 to 2 hours of playing the game. And also, the highest tier tool will increase your gathering speed, which the faster you gather, the faster you earn fame. Also, you want to have the highest possible gathering bonus you can, because when you're gathering bonus procs, as in it works and you get bonus materials, those bonus materials that you get will give you more fame. So you get this from food, gear, your Avalonian tool, and if you have premium active. So what kind of food should you eat? Obviously, it is the, right here, the pork pie. Eating this thing gives you a gathering yield of 15%. Don't worry about cooking this yourself. Just go to the market and buy them already made. They're fairly cheap. You don't need to buy enchanted ones. The money is not worth it. And don't worry about gathering potions. That's for Black Zone in-game guilds that need to harvest, you know, aspects and enchant, like very high-tier enchanted materials. For you, just use the pork pie, use the Avalonian tool for the bonus, and the gathering gear, and that's pretty much it. Is it faster to level up your gathering in safe or danger zones? So let me tell you, this is a big debate, and I don't have an exact answer for you, but I have the answer for myself, and I'll talk about what that means in a sec. But on paper, if you look at the data and you look at the numbers, when you gather in the Black Zone, you get a fame bonus because you're in a full loot risky zone. And with that bonus, theoretically, hypothetically, it is the fastest way to level up your gathering. Now, red zones, which are also a full loot danger zone only if people flag up, they do not give a gathering bonus. So if you go gathering in red zones, you aren't getting as much as gathering in a black zone. And no, you're not getting more than gathering in a yellow or a blue zone either. Red zone gives no bonus, yellow and blue zones give no bonus. Only the black zone gives you a fame bonus for gathering. However, there's other ways to get bonuses. And from my research and my testing and my findings, and I have done hundreds of hours of spreadsheeting and making videos and testing the numbers, and let me share with you my personal results and my personal thoughts on this. So in my opinion, safe zone gathering in tier 4 blue zones, which is a low tier zone, is the fastest way to level up your gathering to tier 8. Why do I think that this is the case? So, number 1, tier 2, 3, and 4 resource nodes respawn insanely fast compared to tier 5, 6, 7, and 8 resource nodes. A tier 4 animal will respawn in 2 minutes, and within 4 to 5 minutes, they will have full yield. A tier 2 resource will respawn in 1 minute and have full yield in 2 to 2.5 minutes. Alright? And the thing is, with low tier resources, you can, when you start getting better tools and higher levels in your gathering, you vacuum up these resources damn near instantly. You click on a tier 2 node with a tier 7 set, it's gone instantly. It's like, it's done. You got it, you can move on to the next node, and while these don't give as much fame per resource, because you can harvest them so insanely fast, and they come back so fast, and these zones are not overcrowded with people or depleted because you're waiting on respawns, the fame per hour is much higher. So, blue zones are never crowded, and they're never depleted. People don't really go to tier 4 blue zones to gather that much. And it's over 1 million silver per hour in these zones. And I don't know why they're not more crowded. People just find it boring, I guess. But the resources will never be depleted. You're not going to ride by a stack of tier 2 stone and it's just deleted. And if it is, you come back in 1 to 2 minutes and it's fully restocked and ready to be harvested. And you'll start like on a loop. And once you learn these loops, you will just be constantly mining full nodes full of resources all of the time. So no time is wasted hunting down rare enchanted nodes or anything of the sort. Now, again, this is all in my testing. Hundreds of hours and hundreds of videos, alright? The fame per hour has always been higher than Black Zone Gathering, because Black Zone Gathering, almost the entire zones are stripped. You're having to run from gankers and guilds that are controlling and protecting the zones. You just lose so much fame per hour playing defensive like this. Alright, so what is the best gathering gear other than the gathering gear itself? So for safe zones, you want a crypt candle offhand, and I'm going to show you all this stuff in just a bit. The reason we pick the crypt candle, it gives you the most damage possible for an offhand accessory, making it ideal for killing any kind of enemies that you can gather, like the stone golems or the metal golems or the Trents, the tree monsters, or, well, for skinning in general. The Crypt Candle also boosts the damage of your hide animal poison, which is an ability skinners use to kill animals fast. Alright? So a one-handed ranged weapon paired with a Crypt Candle is the #1 thing you can use. However, if you aren't skinning, you can suffice with just a really high burst damage main hand weapon, like any kind of gauntlet that just deals insane frontal cone damage, allowing you to kill whatever you want and harvest it as fast as possible. That's totally fine. AoE weapons, if you don't want to use a Crypt Candle or a one-handed weapon, you can just, anything with a big AoE attack, longbow is perfectly fine. All the curse stabs when leveled up are really good as well, though they aren't the best. And I'm going to show you the best in just a bit. Next up is a boar mount for save zones. Boar mounts are great because even if you walk outside of the range to do like an extra long pull when skinning or something, if you unsummon the mount, you are no longer overweight because boars passively grant their carry weight to you even if they aren't summoned. Also, boars are fast. They're also quite beefy once you get the better ones. So let me show you now what a full best-in-slot safe zone gathering set looks like, starting with the bag. Now, I don't have best-in-slot here. The best-in-slot would be an Elder's Bag 8.4 Masterpiece, which, again, I don't have this, but this is good enough, okay? Having this bag will let me gather for over 1 hour without being overburdened, and this just gives you a bunch of carry weight. Alright, bags give you more carry weight than a Satchel of Insight, so bags are better. Satchel of Insight does not give you more fame for gathering, and the fame you get from killing animals is very negligible at best. Now, I'm wearing a skinning set, and the higher your enchantment on your skinning set, the more health and mana you will have, but you don't need that for save zones. You just don't need it. So just a tier 8 flat skinning cap or gathering helmet would be fine. For your cape, you will use the backpack. You do not need a tier 8 backpack. If you are gathering up in, like, you only get a weight reduction with the gathering backpack of your choice for that tier of resource or lower. So while a tier 8 backpack covers everything, if you're gathering in a tier 4 zone, a tier 4 backpack does the exact same thing for cheaper. You absolutely don't need it. If you look at my stash, all of my other gathering backpacks are tier 5 for this exact reason. You just don't need tier 8. I just wanted to have the matching colors, that's all, okay? And I accidentally put my helmet up. Whoops. Let me get that back out. Not that we need it. But, yeah, a little misclick there. All right, next up, let's talk about the Crypt Candle. What does the Crypt Candle do? It gives you an ability bonus. So whenever you use your ability to kill a mob that you can gather, you're maximizing your damage with this thing. Now, I know what some of you are going to be thinking. What about Moizak? The Moizak does not give you nearly as much bonus ability damage, but it does increase your auto attack damage. Well, when you do the math, the Crypt Candle still comes out on top, because of the weapon that we're going to be using here. So the absolute best weapon in the entire game for skinning and gathering in safe zones, or even just gathering in general, is the Flamewalker Staff. It is a double mobility weapon with instant burst damage, and Fire Staffs have a passive ability that gives your auto attacks the most auto attack damage in the game, without any kind of buffs or spell casting. So, because I have a Crypt Candle, and I have the Skinner's Garb here juiced up by the Crypt Candle, our auto attack deals a damage over time, and it does a ton of damage, and this is a ranged weapon. That alone will one-shot every animal in Tier 5 zones. Tier 4 zones especially. But another thing with the Flamewalker Staff is its ability. Not only is it a movement spell, but it is an instant cast, no channel, instant damage ability, just like that. That will, just having this with the Crypt Candle will kill anything I cast this on in Tier 5 zones. So, oh, I want to gather this stone golem. I push my E button, it dies instantly. I don't even have to fight it. but I also have another movement ability to move between nodes faster. If, like, say there's other players trying to gather a node, well, I can use this movement ability and this movement ability to get to the node faster and click on it before they do, meaning I get the node. But the most important thing when skinning or even gathering an enchanted mob, especially a purple one or a 0.3 mob, is being the first player to deal 35% of its maximum HP grants you the kill credit, which means only you can harvest that creature for 2 minutes. And so when there's like 4 or 5 people crowded around a spawn waiting for that enchanted creature to pop, if you have this gear set, you have the Crypt Candle and the Flamewalker Staff, as soon as that sucker spawns, you hit it instantly. There is no charge up, there is no channeling, there is no other weapon in the entire game that deals as much damage as fast, as instantaneously as this, allowing you to always, always, always get the kill credit over everyone else, assuming that your ping isn't absolutely horrible. I have a ping of 68. I can steal mobs every single time with this setup, bar none. Next up is your Gathering Boots, and then we have the Pork Pie. I have Invisibility Potion in case I get ganked. I never really need to use these because I'm just very aware. And then the Boar. Let's talk about the mount. The Elite Wild Boar is the best mount for gathering in safe zones. Why? Well, not only do you have ability, when you're mounted, you can see your Q and W's cooldowns. You also have a mobility here, so you can use that to rush up and mine a node very quickly. This thing has quite a bit of HP, so you're not getting dismounted. It has passive armor and magic resistance, so you can ride through mobs without getting dismounted easily. It also has a pretty decent gallop speed. It's not the fastest, but it is the fastest combined with the carry weight of Courier, which gives you 1,808 kilograms of carry weight. The backpack, for example, only gives us 400. So this thing gives us so much more carry weight. And the way boars work is that when you are dismounted and you are not in the vicinity, if I unsummon this, I keep the carry weight buff. It does not matter if the boar is out or not. This means that if I happen to be, like say you're gathering on an ox. Well, if a player attacks you, it unsummons the ox. And then you're just stuck in place and you can't move. You're just spinning in a circle waiting to die. Whereas with the boar, you can still flee from a ganker or something. You can still move. Also, if you happen to need to, chase a mob or, pull a mob that's far away, and you happen to step outside of the radius of your mount, you're not suddenly walking super slow, and, it's just faster and more efficient to use the wild boar. Now, the best gear for full loot zones is as follows. The Bloodletter and a Mist Collar. This will give you the most mobility possible to run from gankers and give you a fighting chance. The Gallant Horse, statistically analyzing combat data from every player ever in the history of the game on data aggregate websites, APIs, spreadsheets, so on and so forth. The Gallant Horse is the #1 mount that will save you more than anything else statistically. All right, and then Fort Sterling or Brazilian Cape are also good choices. Let's talk about these items, starting with the Bloodletter and the Mist Collar. So the Mist Collar, obviously you would not use very high tier items. You would just use like 4.1 or flat 5, maybe tier 6. It depends on your budget. But the Mist Collar reduces your cooldown, allowing you to use your movement skills more often. The Bloodletter, you would use Q2, which for those that don't know, this is Q1, Q2, and Q3. W1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so forth, okay? So Q2 is Deadly Swipe. It makes you jump forward. It's just a little movement ability. Your W spell is Dash, which moves you forward, and your E spell on the Bloodletter is Lunging Stab. So all three of these combine to 3 movement abilities, and your offhand reduces the cooldown. Now let's talk about the capes. Fort Sterling Cape can be activated while you are mounted. All it does is let you ignore and cleanse all crowd control effects on you and debuffs except damage over time. So what this means is that if you're galloping along on your gallant horse and someone does something to stop you, the cape eats that spell and you can keep running. Now the other cape is the Brazilian Cape, and what this does, it gives you a shield when you use your head slot ability. And while you have that shield active, you cannot be purged. So what is a purge? Whenever another ganker is trying to kill you, they will save what's called a purge for your boots ability. Your boots ability makes you run fast. Well, they will purge that boot ability, and you can no longer run fast. So what this does is not only does it give you a shield to survive longer, it lets you run away without being purged. Super, super handy from escaping gankers. All right, now finally, the Gallant Horse. Let me find that, because I actually don't have one on this character, or this island, rather. It's an Adventurer's Challenge reward in June, I believe. Yes, it is a June reward. You can also just buy it from the market, but the Gallant Horse, it has that courier ability that the boars have, increasing your maximum load, not by much, but it's something. It's also not the beefiest mount, but it does have armor and magic resistance. It has a decent gallop speed. A 3-second gallop speed, so in 3 seconds your horse will hit gallop at 125%, so it's pretty quick. But it has this ability called Relentless Charge. It increases your move speed by 40%, so now you're moving at 165% gallop. All right, but it also makes you immune to damage and crowd control for 4 entire seconds. So if gankers pop up on your screen and they start attacking you, you push this button and you're gone. And yeah, this thing is a little pricey. It's 1.79 million, so it's not really budget friendly. But it is the best possible amount you can use when doing Black Zone gathering. All right, where should I gather if I do X profession? Well, let me explain biomes. So first off, biomes have different resources. The best place to get each resource is as follows. If you are a Skinner, you want to go to a steppe region. What is a steppe region? Don't worry, I'll show you the text again. A steppe region is a desert, okay? It's going to look like this, like Long March Meadow. This is a steppe region. So anywhere that looks like a desert. And you can see here in the Black Zone, lots of desert. We got forests and so on and so forth, okay? Next up, if you are doing woodcutting, that is a forest. This one should be pretty easy. I don't know anyone that doesn't know what a forest is, okay? But that's the darker green part of the map here. And not the light green. We'll talk about what that is. Next up is stone, which is a highlands. That's the light green stuff. So you can see here's a bunch of light green. And yeah, simple enough. Hopefully you're not colorblind. But next up is metal, and that will be mountains or the snowy regions. That's the whiter kind of mountainous looking regions that are, like they look like this, okay? And after that, we have fiber, which is the swampy regions, which is kind of the other green color. Again, I hope you're not colorblind. And I'll explain biomes in just a bit. Now, fish. Fish is generally, you get the rarer fish from steppes, forests. These are the two most in demand fish types. That would be crab and eel for higher tier foods, but also the Avalonian roads. And Avalonian roads can be accessed by Avalonian portals in every single zone in the game. There's not really one on the map. I guess this middle swirly stuff is the Ava roads, but it is what it is. So what city is each biome? All right, and that is, we're going to start with Bridgewatch, right down here at the 6 o'clock position. For those that don't know, 6 o'clock is at the bottom middle of the map. All right, and that is the skinning capital, really. Martlock is to the left or northwest of that, and that is right up here at the 9 o'clock position, or the western position, and that is Stone. Limhurst is the easternmost town, right over here. Let's see if no, that's Enosmon. Okay, that's the big booby lady. So Limhurst is right here on the eastern position, or 3 o'clock position, and then we have Fort Sterling, which is kind of the northeastern area. That would be 2 o'clock position, and yeah, that's metal. And then in the northwestern position is, let's get on the map here, on Thetford, right here. That would be like the 10 to 11 o'clock position on the map. Now, let me talk about other resources you can also find in these zones. And let me hide the text and show you an easy way to figure this out too. So if you just click a zone, like let's click Long March Meadow, you can see in the top right here, we have hide, fiber, and metal. And if we click another part of the map, let's just click like right in here, you'll see that there's stone, fiber, and metal. Now, let me talk about how much of these resources are in each zone. So if you go to a steppe region, hide is the most prolific resource in that region. Whereas the second most easiest to find resource would be fiber, and then the harder to find or least resource that you would find in that zone would be metal. So in forest, you're most likely to find wood. There's going to be some hide and very little stone. In the highland zone, you'll find a lot of stone, some metal, but not a lot of wood, not a lot of trees in the highlands. Whereas, again, if you don't see a resource listed, it does not exist in that zone. So if you go to the steppe region, there will be no trees to chop, only the tier 1 trees, which is in every zone. But you will not find stone, you will not find any other resource other than the 3 listed, okay? So, while you may think, well, what if I go to the forest region to skin? It's not as good as the steppe region until you get to higher tiers. We'll talk about animal baby drops in just a bit. So there are some exceptions to this rule. Now, I just want to show you a map example of this exception. So this is a screen cap of a map I made in MS Paint. You can see me draw on it, whatever, right? And each of these circles and numbers represent something. So this zone is dry water meadow. This is a tier 4 blue zone. And this map represents skinning. So the blue circles represent tier 4, the green represents tier 3, and the yellow represents tier 2, which there's almost none. Now, what I did was I mapped out every cluster I found over the course of several days that was 4 or more animals. And you can see this is a steppe zone, so hide is the most prolific resource in this region. All right? Now, this isn't the only map that I've made. I've made a map of this exact same zone for fiber as well. So let me show you what that looks like. And what you'll notice, even though fiber is the second most common resource, there's a lot more circles and numbers and things on this map. And so things aren't always as they seem. So you'll notice, again, it seems like in this specific zone, there is more fiber than there is animal hides. And while that may or may not be true, let me, in the black color here, let me show you where I can find more than 4 metal nodes. There's one spot right here, and there's one spot right there. The rest of the map will not have a spawn of 4 or more nodes for metal. I have checked for several days now, and those are the only 2 spots where I can find 4 in a row within 2 screens. Now, let's look at stone. We're in Vixen Tor. This is a tier 4 blue zone, and you'll notice, well, there's a lot of tier 2 stone. There's some tier 3 stone here in the green, and not a whole lot of tier 4 stone with 4 or more nodes. Not every map is created equal. There's also a lot of dead zones, like there's not a whole lot of stone there. And, like in this middle section here, there's not a whole lot of stone. And there's definitely not a lot of stone in this corner either. So, again, maps are they're not exactly equal. And the way node spawns work is not every day will there be a 5-node spawn here. Sometimes there's a 5-node spawn and sometimes there isn't. Every day, every server reset, the entire map gets scrambled around slightly, but it is not completely random. Like, this 4-spawn node won't suddenly be up here. It's either going to be here or it won't. So, for instance, if this 4-spawn node is not here, it might be over here, or it could be down here. But there are days where all 3 of these are here, and then, like, this one's not there, that one's not there, that one's not there. So it's really weird on how these things work. And sometimes these are like, green nodes or even blue nodes. It's just the randomness of it. Now, in this same zone, this is a map of metal. And you'll notice there's not a lot of metal. Not a lot of 4-node metals at all. But at least there's a bit more than the steppe regions. And so what this means is there's a certain level of priority that, depending on which city you work or operate out of, which I'll talk about that as well, that you should prioritize leveling up your gathering. All right, the best city to live at is Bridgewatch. Now, why Bridgewatch? Well, Bridgewatch is the steppe region, and as we know, the steppe region is for skinning, but there are certain baby drops that are exclusive to steppe zones at lower tier, and lower tier is the better way to level up, but also it's just a safe way to make money, which is great for new players, because new players should not be out risking their entire bankroll on the danger zones until they know what they're doing, until they have a nice fat stack of cash saved up to make up for losses. And there will be losses, believe me. Now, not only is Bridgewatch the best place for skinning, but it's also really, really close to access stone, fiber. It's also pretty close to wood, I would say. But wood is not really the best choice. And we'll get to the order in a bit. But also, Bridgewatch is the cheapest place to buy stone so that you can get your islands and your laborers up and running. And we'll talk about that later in the video. That's more advanced stuff, but for a new player, it's something that the sooner you do it, the more money you will make in the long term, but it is a pretty deep investment. It's an investment. We're going to talk about laborers and islands in a little while, but they do make you more silver when you gather. Now, what order should you max your gathering professions in? Now, number one is always going to be skinning. It makes you the most silver per hour, there's baby drops, and it levels up your combat so early beginners can have a little bit stronger weaponry than everyone else. Next up is fiber. Why fiber? Because there's so damn much of it in the steppe regions around Bridgewatch. Now, that means that there is more stuff to gather. It's also a nice change of pace when you're bored or your hand gets tired of having to kill animals. But also, if you encounter a enchanted fiber node in a steppe zone, well, you have it leveled up so you can gather it, whereas no one else can. The third one that's going to make you the most silver is stone, and everyone wants to debate me on this because, tier 4 stone is worthless. Yes, but tier 2 and tier 3 stone can sometimes be insane moneymakers. Right now, on the market, on the Western server, tier 2 stone is going for over 200 each, whereas tier 2 fiber and tier 2 hide is going for about 30 to 40 each. So that's a 4 to 5 times markup. That's insane. Stone is a really good moneymaker, even in full loot zones later on, because guilds need higher tier stone for their castles and garrisons and stuff. Now, next up is wood, and wood's a little bit harder to get to, but it is a neighboring city. Metal. The reason why we do metal last, not technically last, but the reason we level this up last is because it's usually bottom of the barrel for the lower tier resources. It's also cartel controlled, and despite highland regions being the second, most proliferation for metals to be harvested, it's still not nearly as much as fiber is in steppe zones. So you're going to not be able to harvest as much per hour as these other options. Finally, fishing. Fishing is really something you only do if you go to full loot zones, honestly, because of the botting problem. If bots ever get permabanned, then maybe it'll be better. But you can level fishing by just eating fish on Fame Week and go straight to tier 8. You don't have to manually level it up like everything else. And yes, while you technically could card swipe and buy Fame gathering tomes, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars to max out, which I don't think people are going to do, honestly. Now, I want to talk about baby drops. So the steppe region, the desert region, has stags from tier 4 mobs. Now, this is why I advocate tier 4 blue zones. Stags sell for stag babies, fawns, still sell for way more than swift claws, and there's so much more of them. These have been recently nerfed this year, but they're still pretty good. Alright, then you have swift claws and mammoths, which are very rare to get. Forests have dire wolves and moose in tier 6 zones, dire boars in tier 7 zones, and dire bears in tier 8 zones. Then the swamp regions have salamanders in tier 6 zones, dire boars in tier 7, and dire bears in tier 8 zones. Now, the following info might not be correct. This is not my numbers. This is just numbers off of the wiki page. These numbers could be entirely made up, and I do not vouch for them, but these are the baby drop rate percents and what drops them. So giant stag comes from fawns, or you kill a giant stag, it has a 0.48% chance to drop a fawn. Again, I don't know if these numbers are accurate. I'm just going to scroll it, and you could pause the video if you want to see this. All right, and yeah, there's different types of animals, but also I just want to point out that there's one number that's really crazy. Feral bear, dire bear cub. I don't think I've ever seen one of those. Now, Old White does not always drop a mammoth calf. I believe that this actual number is 36%, not 136%. So again, I don't trust these numbers. I think they're much lower than what is being shown. But this number could be with or without premium. I play without premium, so I absolutely have no idea who on the wiki came up with these numbers. Now, let's talk about fish. So there are two different varieties of fish. You have freshwater fish and saltwater fish. Don't worry, this is not very complicated. Let me show you how to easily identify if you are fishing in fresh or salt water. So when you open the map and you just pick a random zone, let's just hopefully the snap shaft has some water. The color of the water, this is fresh water. It's kind of a darker blue, whereas salt water is going to be bright blue like this. So let me show you a map with both. Let's find a random one. Let's go to slime hat. No, that's tier 3 zone. Let's go to a black zone here and just click on Sandmount Desert. Okay, so no, that's just salt water. There's got to be a mix. How about windgrass? Okay, here we go. So you see how this water is much brighter than this water? This is fresh water because it's darker. And this is ocean or salt water because it is brighter. So with that said, let's go over the types of fish. So you have your generic tier 1 through tier 8 fish from both. They basically do the same thing. They just have different names. Nothing special here. Now, oceans or saltwater can give octopus and sharks. So octopus can be fished upwards in tier 3 through 8 zones, the tier 5 octopus in tier 5 through 8 zones, and the tier 7 octopus in tier 7 and 8 zones. Now sharks can be fished in the crosstowns, which is a tier 2 zone, but they can also be found in tiers 4 through 8. What is a crosstown? That is the little tutorial town that you visit when you exit the tutorial. So, for instance, hold on, we're in the black zone. So, for instance, down here, if you go to Step Cross, this is a cross town. Then over here, we have Highland Cross, and so on and so forth. They are the little mini baby starter towns that are on the outskirts of the continent. They're very easy to find. Whereas, you can also fish sharks in tier 4 through 8 zones. So, Dry Water Meadow is an example. This is a tier 4 zone, and this is ocean water. So right here is also technically ocean water, so you can fish here, and you can get sharks. And now for special fish locations. Every once in a while when you're in these regions, you will fish out special fish. You can get them from saltwater or freshwater, does not matter. But in the forest, you can find eels, lurchers, and crabs, steppes, clams, eyes, and crabs. Swamps has eel, clam, crab, so on and so forth. You can pause the video and look at, I'm not going to list them all verbally. Now, snapper is the special fish found in mists and roads, and the tier 7 one is some of the better food buffs in the game. So ideally, if you're fishing high tier zones, to make the most silver per hour, you want to fish in roads, preferably. They're a little bit more safer than mists, due to invis gankers and 8.4s running around, but essentially, other than that, you would rather also fish in forests and steppe regions, just because there's usually more water to go around in those. Those steppe regions can be pretty dry at times. Now, eye refers to cold eye, blind eye, and dead eye for tier 3, 5, and 7, respectively. Now, if you fish anywhere, you get seaweed from time to time. There are treasure loot you can loot, but that's like just a random chest with treasures or other items. If you fish up logs or stone, that's because the fish have all left. You gotta move your fisher character elsewhere. And if you fish in or around Caerleon or on a personal island, you can also get decorations, though not the good ones or expensive ones. Now let's talk about gathering journals, because this is something that many new players and even veterans either don't know about or they're too lazy to care about, and this is free silver if you take advantage of this, and it is so easy to do. Let me explain what a gathering journal is. I'm going to explain how they work, where to get them, why you should be using them. A gathering journal is a journal. It's an item. It's an item that's in your inventory that fills passively as you gather, and that once you fill or complete the journal, you can either sell the journal to other players, or you can turn the journal in at a laborer that you have on one of your islands, a guild island or personal island. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And in 1 day later, they will give you bonus resources and an empty journal. So First off, as a new player, you won't have islands, you won't have houses, you won't have any of that stuff. You won't have laborers. So what do new players do? Well, they can buy an empty journal from, the market, and then they can fill it and then sell it back to the market when it's filled, and people will buy the filled journal so that they make a little bit extra silver when they turn it into their laborer. So let me explain that. I have 3 journals here. One is a closed book, one is an open book, and one is a stuffed book, okay? So when you buy a journal, this is a Tier 2 Novice's Stonecutter's journal. Stonecutter being stone mining, all right? And you can see here, this has an estimated market value of 639. That can be higher or lower depending on the state of the game. As the game continues, as time goes on, these things do get more expensive when you buy them from a laborer. You don't have to buy it from the market. If you have islands, you can buy it from a laborer. I'll explain that later in the video. But for now, this is an empty journal. This is a partially filled journal. You cannot sell this, and you cannot buy these. As far as I know, you can't buy them. But this one is not quite full yet, and so you can't really use it for anything. This one is a filled journal. It is full. It is ready to be turned into a laborer for bonus resources. I'll talk about how much you can get in a bit, or you can just sell it to another player. So if I were to buy this journal for 639 and fill it, I can then sell it on the market at an average of 1,647. So that means I make about 1,000 silver for free. This does not cost anything to fill. It does not. I'll explain how filling these things works, okay, in just a bit. But it does not take away from anything. This is just bonus money if you are not that lazy enough to have one of these sitting in your inventory as you gather. That's all you have to do. Put this in your inventory, and as you go out and gather, it will fill up. It's really that simple. Oh, and random bonus tip. If you're ever driving by and you see a loot box on the ground, and it's not an area where, enemies spawn, this is possibly a baby drop. So in 30 seconds, I'm going to see if this is. All right, let's see. We got 1 second left. And baby drop. Boom, 118,000 just on the floor. And just another tidbit of random info. Baby drops happen when you kill the mob, not when you skin it, okay? So, again, it'll be just a loot bag on the ground. So here is how filling gathering journals works. Not for fishing. Fishing is different. I'll talk about that. If you gather within 2 tiers of the journal, fame will be applied to it. It will not be stolen from you. It does not take away from the fame you are getting. It just applies it to the journal as well as you. It does not split it or anything of the sort. You cannot fill a gathering journal by gathering lower than that tier of journal. So let me give you an example. A tier 2 journal, which I have in my inventory. I have a tier 2 Stonecutter's journal. All right. This tier 2 journal will only fill from gathering tiers 2, 3, and 4 nodes, but not tier 5, because tier 5 is 3 nodes away from tier 2, and it only fills within 2 nodes. But you cannot gather beneath it. So a tier 3 journal will not fill from gathering tier 2, but it will fill up from gathering tiers 3, 4, and 5. So here is how it works. I have a stack of 73 empty journals for stone cutting, and I have one that's partially full. This one that is partially full will fill up before opening up a new one, and so on and so forth. So here is a limestone node. Right now, this journal has 294 out of 450 fame, so let's mine this. Doop, doop, doop. There we go. Now it has 321 out of 450 fame. And once this hits 450, this journal will be full, and it will start a new one. And yes, they do spill over, so there is no fame wasted. That's why you carry multiple stacks. So you watched me harvest a tier 2 node, which is limestone, and this is a tier 2 journal. But this right here is travertine. This is a tier 4 node. I'm going to mine it, and you can see here. We go from 321, 351, 381, 411. So this fills much faster by harvesting the higher tier node. But if I go to a tier 5 zone and harvest tier 5 stone, this will not fill up at all. So optimal journal min-maxing. If you are gathering in a tier 4 zone, use tier 2 journals. Why would you use a tier 2 journal? Because everything in the tier 4 zone will fill that journal. Because tier 4 zones have nodes of tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. If you're gathering in a tier 5 zone, you would use tier 3 journals so that every node on the map will fill the journal. Because a tier 5 zone does not have tier 2 materials. It only has tiers 3, 4, and 5 materials, and all 3 of those are compatible with the journal. One massive mistake new players tend to do when they're following a guide is they will buy the wrong journal. You do not want to buy what is called a trophy journal. These do not give you resources, and they do not sell well to other players unless you're doing it in tier 8 zones. More on that in a bit, maybe. They give a trophy, they do not give resources, which is a furniture item, which is used to boost the happiness of laborers. Generally, these things are overproduced, and there's plenty in the market. However, there are times when they aren't available, and you might have to use these to furnish a house. We can talk about that later in the video, but in order to make sure you aren't buying the wrong one, just check the name. You'll see here, this is a Novice's Stonecutter's Journal. That's good. If it said Novice's Stonecutter's Trophy Journal, that is the wrong journal. Now, the trophy journal will fill the exact same way by gathering the resource, but the reward will just simply not be there. So, fishing journals will fill differently than your other gathering journals. How so? Any tier zone that you fish in will fill any tier of journal for fishing. So you can just buy the best possible money earning journal for fishing and then fish anywhere and it will fill up. And you may be wondering, well, what's the best journal to buy? So the answer to that is tier 7 fishing journals. Regardless if you have an island or not, tier 7 fishing journals are mathematically the best ones to fill, not only if you own islands, but if you're just selling the journal to other players. This is the de facto, if you want to spreadsheet it out and do all of the math homework, you can do it, but I'm just going to save you the time and tell you it's tier 7, and that's on all 3 servers, and there is almost no exception to this. The extreme exception is on the Western server, and only on the Western server. If you have all of the telescope trophies from being an early player to the game, or you happen to buy them out in the market if there's even any for sale, these can boost your happiness slightly for the tier 8 laborers to make tier 8 the better choice, but that's only if you have that, and almost no one has that. I have it, but I'm an elder player that's super wealthy. Almost no one has this, and no one bothers with it. So for everyone else, tier 7 is the way to go. So what about all the other gathering professions? What is the best journal to fill? And the answer is usually just tier 2 journals. Why? Because they are the fastest to fill and usually the most profitable. However, there's a lot of math that needs to be done and a lot of market research that needs to be done to make sure this is the correct choice. Now, of course, if you are gathering for a guild in a tier 8 black zone, this answer doesn't apply to you. You would be filling tier 6, 7, and 8 journals. But for everyone else that's in the safe zone gathering, who's just starting out, tier 2 journals are usually the safest and easiest ones to manage. So let's talk about what tier of journal gives what type of reward. So here is the journal rewards at 150% happiness. At tier 2, you get 57 tier 2 raw resources. At tier 3, you get 90 tier 3 raw resources. Tiers 4 through 8 can have enchanted resources at a random variable that I don't know. And also, tiers 4 through 8 have a variable amount that you will receive, meaning you won't always receive the same amount. So that value for tier 4 is 0 through 72, tier 5 0 through 48, and so on and so forth. And no, you're not going to get 72 4.3 hides. You might get one tier 4.3 hide if you're super duper lucky. Out of hundreds of laborers, it's very rare to get them, but you can get them, but you're not going to get a lot of them. So the amount of fame you need to fill a journal doubles for each tier. At tier 2, only 450 fame. And from the, previous clip, you get 57, resources. Tier 3, yeah, you get more resources, but it takes twice as long, which means you technically don't get double resources because you can fill 2 Tier 2 journals in the same amount of time to fill 1 Tier 3 journal. So, really, using a higher tier journal is only more beneficial if you have limited islands and limited laborers, but a lot of free time. It really depends. The math of what is the best thing to do, it really comes down to how many laborers that you have, how much time you have to fill the journals, and so on. And let me show you some examples. So here is a very basic journal profit example. 57 tier 2 hide, which is 1 tier 2 journal, sells 78 silver each per hide, which means you earned 4,446 silver. Now, the tier 3 version takes twice as much fame to fill, but you get 90 tier 3 hide, and those sell for 90 each, giving you 8,100 silver. But, again, it takes twice as long to fill, which means you could fill 2 tier 2 hide journals instead, which would then give you 8,892 silver instead, for a profit of 792 bonus silver, which can add up. But if you only have like a very small amount of laborers and a lot of time, the tier 3 hide would technically be better because of limited laborers. But when you have lots of islands and lots of laborers, then the tier 2 hide is the clear winner. And do remember, whenever you give a filled journal to a laborer, in 1 day later, they give you an empty journal back. So the journal is reusable, whereas if you don't have laborers and you're selling the journals to other players, you have to buy an empty one each time. So it really cuts into your profits. Now, some people complain that laborers take too long to manage. You can do an entire island in under 1 minute, and it's really this simple. You just need to learn your hotkeys. So say you have a whole bunch of journals filled, you run up to your laborer, you left-click the laborer, you hold shift and left-click the journal, which will automatically put it over here. You click accept, click the next one, and so on and so forth, and then you ride off to the next little cluster of houses, or guild halls. Guild halls are way, way faster and more efficient because you can cram more laborers right next to each other, making the clicking much faster. And again, I can do about 24 journals a minute, all right? And yes, they take a day to get your rewards, but, depending on how many you fill, like, I used to process 400 to 500 journals a day. You can see here I have an entire stash full that I haven't processed. I'm a multi-billionaire, so I kind of fell off on this. But another thing that people complain about for laborers and journals is that they take too long to make your money back. And that is a legitimate concern, so let's talk about it. Alright, so the cost of getting a guild island can be quite pricey, and personal islands require that you have at least 7 days of premium to get a personal island. The cost to build houses and guild halls, the cost of the furniture, the beds, the tables, the trophy journals, and so on. Yes, all of that costs quite a bit of silver. Now, here's the thing. Depending on the laborer you use and the market and the server you play on, the amount of money or silver that you spend building your islands, your laborers, and your houses, the profit that you make from journals will generally take you 3 to 8 months to pay back. And I don't mean by just playing, doing everything. I mean the amount of money that your laborers generate, you will break even at 3 to 8 months, depending on your server. If you play on Asia, it's 8 months. If you play on West, it's 3 months. So it really depends. You're going to have to do the math to see how long it's going to take. But once you hit that break-even point, it is pure profit from there. And when you have this set up and ready to go, you can expect your gathering to generate 25% additional silver than if you don't have laborers and islands set up. So for me, who's been playing for about 4 to 5 years now, I've lost track. It's probably more than 5 years. It is more than paid for itself. So new players who do not have islands and laborers set up, who know they are going to be gathering a lot, and you will be gathering a lot if you want to make a lot of silver as a solo guildless player, and who does not card swipe, it's absolutely pivotal that you set up islands and laborers as soon as possible. And yeah, it's a long-term investment, but once you have that investment, like look at this. I'm a multi-billionaire, completely solo, right? The sooner you invest, the better. The more money you make, the better. And I'm so rich now that I don't even really bother with laborers. They're just nice to have. And if I ever wanted to tear down this Tier 8 Elders Guild Hall, the materials, the Tier 8 laborers, all of these journals, all of these beds and tables and trophies, I could just sell them and get 70 to 80% of my investment back. So even though it would take 3 to 8 months to generate the revenue to break even, I can always sell it if I get bored enough, and then I'm up from when I started the investment, okay? But if I play for 5 more years, and I did my journals and my laborers every single day, I would be so much more wealthier than if I didn't. It is absolutely important that if you want to min-max your gathering earnings, that you get on laborers and islands with your extra money. Your money just sitting in your, and I have way more than 56 million. I have like 2.4 billion in liquid, and I have nothing to invest. I have everything in the game, right? You need to take your money that you're not actively using and spend it on an investment to make you money later. And so islands and laborers are pivotal if you are gathering. Now, in order to fully educate you on islands and laborers, that would be several hours worth of video, but I've already done the work for you. All you have to do is click on my channel name. It'll take you to my YouTube page. It looks like this. Click this little search button. Type in island. You can type in Albion Island as well. That also works. You have a complete island guide. This is 1 hour and 16 minutes long. This is for 2024. Nothing has changed in a year. It is still up to date. We have a 2024 laborer profit, advanced island tips and tricks. How to transfer your islands in Albion. There's everything. You can also type in laborer. The word laborer works. You have how to max out your laborer's furniture guide. This is 27 minutes. Easy silver with mercenary laborers. This is the type of laborer you would use if you are mob grinding, not gathering. Complete island guide. We talked about that one. Best mercenary laborer. All the math is done for you. Best laborer, most profits. Well, we just talked about that. But this one is for crafting laborers, okay? When you get into crafting, you need to have laborers to break even or make a profit on crafting. Without laborers, you cannot be a crafter unless you're a potion crafter or a chef. Those are the only 2 crafting professions that do not have laborers tied to them. So again, just search my channel. You can also search for anything else if you ever want to know, like we can just type Albion wood, and there's videos about gathering in Yellow Zone with wood. You know how much you get paid. You can type Albion stone, and look, I made a video just 3 days ago about tier 4 stone gathering profits with and without laborers. The math is done for you. I have hundreds. Here's tier 8 stone gathering. The math is done. The research is done for you already. Just check out these videos. And real quick, while I have you on the page, if you scroll down, and this is not available in every country, if you scroll down, there is a join button, and for just $5 a month, you get access to members-only videos, and these videos are too good for the public that share all the best ways to make silver in Albion Online. Now, I just want to tell you that this video has no sponsors, no download Raid Shadow Legends, get a VPN kind of crap. I hate that stuff in videos, but I struggle to pay bills, and so it really helps if you become a channel member, so thank you so much. Back to the video. Now that you know all of the basics to gathering, how do you even further increase your gathering profits? So let's start with number 1, which is refining. Now, I get asked all the time, should I refine my resources? Is it worth it for me to refine all the hide I've skinned? All right, and the answer to that is it's a boatload of math, and I'm not going to do the math homework for you, okay? Unless you hit that thanks button and donate a fat 10. I'm not your little nerd that does homework for you, okay? You're going to have to learn to do it yourself. But I'm going to show you some lazy ways that you can kind of figure out if refining is worth it without having to do a bunch of spreadsheets and a bunch of math equations. And I'll talk about that in a sec, but let's talk about transporting. Should you transport a whole bunch of stuff from one town to another? And the answer is you gotta do the math on it. But I'm gonna give you the simple, short, and sweet version of math. So if you are transporting on a boar or a fast ox or something with a decent amount of run speed, the time it takes to go from, say, Bridgewatch to Martlock or Bridgewatch to Limhurst is anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. And it's around 7 to 9 to 10 minutes on a mammoth, okay? So if you take a bunch of resources from Bridgewatch that are worth 100, theoretically, and you transport it to Limhurst, and it's worth 110 there, oh, that's a profit, that's a profit. Except, is it? Now, let's say, again, let's say it takes 6 minutes to get to Limhurst, and you're transporting stuff for a 10% silver profit, okay? Well, in that same amount of time, in 6 minutes, you could just go gather for 6 minutes, and if you would make more silver gathering for those 6 minutes, it is not worth transporting, all right? But if you could make more silver in the time it takes to transport it than the time it takes to gather it, then it's worth transporting. That is the very simple way to explain that, all right? And the third thing, we'll talk about point number 3 because it's easy. Refining is a little trickier. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But number 3 is you want to check the market before you gather to see what's worth gathering. And I'm going to do that right now for you. It's very simple. We're going to we're at Bridgewatch on the West server. We're going to open the market. And what we're going to do is we're going to clear our search parameters by clicking these little buttons here. Always do that way. You can see everything by the default. And make sure that your price is set to price-lowest. Not highest, but lowest, okay? Always have these settings. Now, you're going to go to the category drop-down menu, and you're going to select resource. We're going to start with the raw resources. We're going to start with fiber. We're going to check tier 2. Cotton is at 40. Tier 3. Flax is at 86. And tier 4. Hemp is at 77. Now, I'm going to rinse and repeat for all the resources. So we go to hide. Tier 4 hide 56. So right now, hide is special because, again, baby drops, okay? I already showed you what a baby drop looks like. They're pretty good money, right? So tier 4 hide is not beating fiber at the moment. Tier 3 hide is beating fiber, or flax, rather. And tier 2 is it beating fiber? 71 versus 4. Yes, it's definitely beating it. So right now, just from those numbers, I can tell you it's worth it to go skin and not to go gather fiber. Of course, you're going to take all your tools with you once you have them leveled up, and if you see an enchanted fiber node, you'll take it, obviously. But you won't waste time gathering fiber when you have a gathering set for hide. And I'll talk about that more in just a bit. All right, so now we'll check ore. Tier 2 ore is in the dumps. Tier 3 also in the dumps. Tier 4, yeah. We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that one. Then you go to stone. And look at stone. Travertine's worthless. We talked about that earlier. Don't even bother checking. Tier 3 is pretty juicy. Ooh. And tier 2 is pretty juicy as well. So, stone is good. Stone very good. Hide very good. Either of those are winning choices. And then we have wood. Alright. So, logs not so good. Chestnut not the worst. Okay, yeah. Yeah, wood's out. Stone and hide it is. That would be the 2 top choices. Now, before we talk about what's more profitable way to gather, because I want to demonstrate that to you, we're going to talk about refining now and the lazy way to do it. The lazy way to do the math. Instead of spreadsheeting it out and doing a bunch of algorithms, and don't trust an AI. I have tried every single AI that's free without signing up, and they all botch the answer, so don't think an AI will do the math for you, because they won't. So here's the foolproof, stupid, idiot way of checking refining profits. Okay, we're going to go with tier 2 stone real quick. And this is, again, the lazy way to do it without doing math. Just buy the raw ingredient at tier 2 or tier 3, whatever. So let's just buy 100. Okay, I need to buy a stack of 100 here. So we'll just buy a stack of 100 limestone. There we go. So we're paying 13,900. Let's remember that number. And because it's tier 2 does not cost anything to refine. And since we're in Bridgewatch, Bridgewatch's bonus is stone. All right? And also you can check your activities. It's bag and bow day, so not a stone day, but whatever. So if we want to, turn this 100 limestone into limestone blocks. Will we make a profit? Let's find out. Probably not, but whatever. We're just going to mash this button, and you get a little bit of a return there. We're just going to keep hitting that return. All right, so now it doesn't look like we made a profit, which I'm pretty sure we didn't, but we'll go check the market real quick. So you can see if I sell order my limestone block at 57, which is undercutting everyone, I only got back, or I'm only getting back 8,338, which is a loss because I paid 13,900. So what this means is that I would have just been better off selling the raw stone rather than refining it. So again, that's a lazy, simple way to check if you're winning or losing on refining without, doing any risk and without doing any math. You just let the game do the math for you. Though you are spending silver to skip your math homework, okay? And I know that it's a little bit harder to do because if you're skinning hide, you have to travel up here to Martlock to refine the hide because Martlock has the hide bonus, okay? And, yeah, so you would just get naked, travel to Martlock, get an ox real quick, and see what the price is, raw material versus refining it, because you may be better off transporting rawhide to Martlock and selling the rawhide than refining it. Again, it's a boatload of math. You'll have to figure out the math homework yourself. Yes, there's formulas, there's spreadsheets out there that try to do it for you. Some of these are unreliable, and don't fall for any of those, buy my spreadsheet things. Those are, like there's free versions of those guys. You don't have to pay money, whatever. But, yeah, that's basic refining. So now let's talk about how you should gather to maximize your profits. I think that's a very important thing to teach people because I see people, streamers and YouTubers, gathering wrong all the time. So where should you gather? And these are my strong opinions. You can take them as fact if you want, but this is what I truly believe in. No cap, all that stuff. Okay, Tier 4 blue zones are my favorite places to gather fiber, hide, and stone out of Bridgewatch. I do not live in Thetford or Fort Sterling, and I do not gather in those zones, but if you did, you would just change out stone and hide for wood and metal instead. But I don't know why you're living in those zones anyway. They're pretty garbage. So Tier 5 blue or yellow zones are great for wood. You actually make more silver in a Tier 5 zone when harvesting wood than a Tier 4 zone. And I have done extensive tests, and this is the only exception. Tier 6 yellow zones, avoid these. You may be thinking, but Tier 6, resources really good, and Tier 4 and 5 resources also pretty good. There's so little nodes, and everyone is combing these zones. They take forever to respawn. They're not good. Tier 6 yellow zones are a time trap. They're not balanced, okay? Tier 6 red zones are actually really good for wood, hide, and fiber. They're pretty damn good. However, wait till you have some money before you go out to these because it can get a little bit dangerous, and I like to do it faction flagged, so I take that extra risk because being faction flagged gives you 50% extra yield. Tier 7 red zones, avoid these. They're picked clean. There are tons of gankers that will absolutely murder you. You do not make more silver per hour in a Tier 7 red zone than a Tier 6 red zone. I have tested this thoroughly. Tier 7 black zones, just avoid them. They're picked clean. They're pretty much empty as hell. And even during prime time or off hours, it doesn't matter when you play. They're just picked clean. Tier 8 black zones, you should also avoid these as a solo player. However, if you are in a top 10 guild, that means that they own Tier 8 high-quality black zones, which means you can semi-safely gather in these because you have the hideout protection, the garrison, castle, whatever you want to call it, protection, and there's usually a bunch of people in Discord roaming around ganking that you can hang out with who will also protect you. But even then, I have found that the silver per hour in these Tier 8 black zones, and I tried this because I was in a top 10 guild, I did all the testing and all the number crunching, it's still not as profitable. Because, again, these zones are very picked clean constantly round the clock. Yellow zone mists. Do not gather in yellow zone mists. It's interesting to do, but it's not worth it because you can't faction flag, so you're not earning faction points. but also most of the nodes are low tier. They're not filled. Like, you'll find some stone or some fiber and you'll harvest it and it'll be like 1 out of 5. Even like tier 3 and 4 nodes won't even be full nodes for some reason. Yellow zone mists are just a waste of time. Black zone mist, you should avoid this until you're rich. And once you're rich and can afford to die a bunch of times, not a few times, but a bunch of times, you can kind of play around in them, and you can make over $1 million per hour, but this is more of a thrill-seeker thing if you want to get an adrenaline rush. It's really not worth it, in my opinion. Again, these are all just my opinion. Avalonian roads, you should also avoid these for gathering, unless you have a friend that has scouted it, or a guild that has scouted the road, and they know what's there. Because, like, you're going to see a bunch of YouTube videos of Avalonian road gatherers making a bunch of silver. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of those radar hack. Most of those are cheating. Most of those are pre-scouted. It's not legit. Like, I literally cannot recreate 5 million an hour fishing because I am constantly chased by gankers, constantly radar hacked, and it's just non-stop, bro. It's just non-stop. And I feel like some of those people that film these videos, like, you check their murder ledger, they're constantly dying, or you you see what kind of guild they're in, and they have Discord bots and scouts all over the freaking place. They're running like 10 accounts, parking, oxes at each entrance of their Avalonian Roads hideout guild. It's very artificial, and as a solo guildless player, you're just not going to make the same amount of money as them. Now, let's go over what you should not do when gathering. So, number one, a lot of people get this wrong. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. Take every tool for the zone and pick up everything. This sounds smart. It sounds like it's a good deal. Now, if you're truly lazy and don't care about your silver per hour, feel free to do this. There's times when I just have a really kick-ass anime to watch on my other monitor, and I just pick up everything because I don't give a shit. But what you really should do is you should take every tool for that zone, but you should only gather what your gathering gear gives you a yield bonus for. So if I'm skinning, I'm wearing the skinning armor, and I'm only skinning, but when I see an enchanted fiber node or an enchanted metal node, yeah, I'll pick that up, because it's worth picking up the enchanted nodes. But the reason why it's not worth doing is the time that you waste gathering nodes that you don't have gathering gear equipped for is better off spent gathering for the items you are equipped for, because it is a massive silver difference of 200,000 to 300,000 per hour. All right, you can take every gathering journal. That's totally fine if you want, but all the time you spent gathering metal when your gear set is for skinning is massively hurting your silver per hour potential. It just hurts it way too much to do. Don't do it. Next up is mixing gathering gear. Well, what if you wear, a helmet for metal and a chest piece for skinning and boots for fiber? What if you do that? No, it hurts your overall silver per hour way too much. You should not do it. You should hyper focus on one resource, and preferably you check the markets as I explained earlier in the video, and you're going for the resource that gives the most yield. Do not mix gathering gear, just hyper-focus on one. And again, pick up the enchanted other nodes, that's fine, but don't waste time mining tiers 2, 3, and 4 metal when you're wearing a skinning set. Use combat gear. There was a YouTuber who got a very popular gathering video that says, you should never use gathering gear, and you should fame farm while you gather. No. Do not do this. Gathering gear gives you so much more yield, which not only helps you level up your gathering faster, but it makes substantially more silver per hour than also doing combat. It is not worth it to mix. Do not waste time fame farming combat fame credits and gathering, because what you're better off doing mathematically, if you were to wear a combat set and fame farm for 1 hour, and then wear a gathering set and gather for 1 hour, you will have more fame and more silver than if you spent 2 hours doing both at the same time. It is not time, fame, or money efficient to try to mix the two together. Do not do this. Now, what you can do is, if you are fame farming, yeah, you can take your gathering gear with you, and if you see an enchanted node, take it. But if you're specifically focusing on gathering, don't think that you'll take a bit of a hit to your silver so that you can keep the fame flowing, because you're just going to be more broke and more behind on fame farming than if you just focused on one or the other. Alright, so how do you one-shot skinning mobs with an auto attack? Alright, so again, these are a little specific, but people have always asked, how do I do this? So I'm answering it now in the video. For tier 4 animals, you need an 8.4 crypt candle with an 8.4 skinner garb. You cast hide animal poison, and then any 8.4 ranged one-handed weapon works, or you can use a 6.3 fire staff with around 1,600 item power. That'll one-shot everything in tier 4 zones. Now, for tier 5 zones, the terror birds have quite a bit of HP, so you're going to need a very specific gear set to do this, and it can get quite expensive. But hey, it saves you time. 8.4 Masterpiece Crypt Candle, that is 2,131 item power on the Crypt Candle. 8.4 Skinner Garb with an 8.4 Flamewalker's Staff that's around 2125 IP. This is 120 maximum spec and 100 across the board on Fire Staff. You also need to awaken it with 9% ability damage. Alright? You need a level 4 in your Elder Skinner. And without that level 4 Elder Skinner, you won't one-shot them. They will survive with 1 HP. I'm not even joking. So you gotta level this sucker up, because the more specialization in your Elder Animal Skinner, the more item power is allocated to your Skinner's Garb, which means more hide animal poison. It's tricky to get all this stuff, but once you do, and again, it's really hard to get, but once you do, your auto attacks will not instantly, but it will poison them from 100 to 0, so you just tag each mob one single time and they all drop dead. And if you're wondering what this looks like, here it is, here's my gear, and we're just going to cast hide animal poison. We're going to auto attack the terror bird one time, and then it's just going to die from poison. See? There you go. And again, everything else below the terror bird also dies in one auto attack. So you just tag all the enemies once, and then they're dead. You don't even have to cast spells. It's really that easy. So one complaint I see, especially from Redditors, they say, Swole Benji only makes 1 million silver an hour in blue zones because he has maximum spec. No, I don't. I don't have maximum spec, okay? What I have here, you can see here, at skinning at tier 4 is level 86. So how much bonus gathering yield do I get from this? Well, we take 86 and we multiply it by 0.5. So I get a 43% yield bonus. Yeah, that's a good amount. But you also have to realize that I have spent no learning points on this ever. I have spent nothing leveling this up other than just skinning mobs in my free time while I watch anime. That's it. Right? You can see that, Lumberjack's 81, Stone Mining 56. It's all very spread out. Fiber and then metal being my lowest. And, well, fishing, I guess, technically, because I don't really fish. But if I wanted to max this out easily, it wouldn't cost too much learning points. I mean, right now, from 86 to 87 will cost me 30. I have 2,300 of these suckers I could blow. It's not hard to max out, and you don't need to max it out. It's basically what I have right now, this level 86. A new player with premium active would have higher gathering yield than me by 8% right now, I believe. And if I did have premium active with my gathering yield bonus, I'd be making around 1.7 million an hour, or possibly even more than that. But I gather without premium because I'm already a billionaire and I just don't need it, and I just don't really play the game enough to make premium worth it, honestly. And remember, if you use strong gear in a safe zone, you should always use the strongest possible gear in a safe zone. The reason why is because, like, see this 5.2 Terror Bird? I can dismount and boom, the mob tag is mine. If someone came by and killed it, then they would get the high. Or if someone came by and tried to kill this after I've already tagged it with my E spell, they're not getting it. I'm getting the mob kill. I'm getting the mob tag. So also, someone just left this body here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and yoink that. But yeah, you definitely want to run the strongest. Oh, and that's enchanted. Let's. I didn't bring my sickle with me. I'm missing out. That's why you bring your other tools. You get those enchanted nodes. But yeah, you just want to use the best possible gear in safe zones. There's no reason not to, and you can always sell. Like, if you get sick of like gathering and you never want to gather ever again, you could just sell the gear back. And the thing is like, I bought this years ago. I bought this for maybe $1 million years ago, And now it's worth 1.6 million. So, hey, I made money just by buying this. Just holding on to it, I've made money. Another gripe that people tend to parrot around is the Avalonian skinning bonus is not worth the repair bill. Yes, it is. Alright, if I skin for 1 hour with this bad boy, 1 hour of skinning, the repair bill on this is around 50,000. Alright, 20% of 50,000. Well, okay, the 20% yield that I get from extra hides more than makes 50,000, okay? You take, it's over 1 million silver minus 20%, and that's 200,000. So I'm making 4 times more after repairs than using a normal skinning knife. Never use the normal skinning knife in safe zones. And now how to increase your gathering profits even further beyond, right? Now, a lot of this takes a lot of time and patience and may or may not be worth it depending on your monetary needs. But let's start with bonus days. What is a bonus day? I'm going to hide the text for a sec. It'll come back. Right here at the top, you click activities, you click activities again, and you have daily production bonus days. Right now, it's 10% bag and 10% bow. You want to sell on 20% days. For example, 20% leather shoes crafting bonus day means hide prices go up because more people buy hides to refine into leather to craft leather shoes. At the same time, a 20% leather refining day means hide prices go up because everyone's trying to refine as much as possible. You can also hoard raw materials and refine them yourself on the 20% day, which is something I do sometimes. I have a whole chest just full of raw materials. Look at all this fiber and metal. I'm just waiting on the bonus day. Look at the stone. So much stone and wood. And you can see something. This is already refined. I'm waiting for the prices to stabilize because stone prices are a little wonky right now. Not a good time to sell. All right. But anyway, we have, if you're a fisherman, this one's hard to do because this only comes every 3 to 5 months. Okay. Save every single fish you fish up and only sell the fish on Fame Week. Because whales and people desperate to max out fishing will mass buy fish and eat the fish on Fame Week so that they level up fishing faster. You can literally fish up a bunch of fish, and you will make double your money if you just wait to sell it all on Fame Week. Alright? Next up is faction flagging. In the save zones, you should always be faction flagged for that bonus yield, but also for faction points. And you can earn about 10,000 points an hour, which is a bonus of 60 to 120,000 silver, or even more, depending on what you spend your points on. I spend it on the 9,000 point faction chests, because I like me some fame tomes, alright? The fame tomes are really worth it for me, but for you, you might just buy hearts, or, cape, the cape material, whatever sells for more, you have to do the math on that. Next up is listing your items for double the price and waiting for whales to buy your stock out. Whales will buy out the market, which means they don't care about the average price. So if hide is selling for 40 silver and you list it for 80, well, once the whales buy all the 40, the 50, the 60, the 70 silver, they have to buy the 80 silver stacks. And because they have infinite money, because they have a 6-figure job in real life, they will card swipe until they max out the crafting thing that they want. And they will buy your hide at double the price. It just takes about a month to sell. And I have proof of this. So, for example, I have, this is refined because I waited for a bonus day to refine it, and then I took the refined item and I sold it for double the average market value. So, I sold 999 stiff leather, and I did this by the thousands, the hundreds of thousands, okay? And I sold it for an average of 80 silver per stiff leather. Okay, stiff leather is tier 2. The average market price for stiff leather is 43. I sold it for 80. Yeah, so not only did I refine it and double my money, I then sold the refined product for double the price, and so I quadrupled my gathering earnings. So instead of earning 1 million silver per hour gathering, technically because I sat there and I waited for about 20 days for this stuff to sell, my 1 million an hour session turned into a 4 million an hour session in a safe zone, in a freaking blue zone, while I watch anime, with zero risk. okay? And technically, all the faction points I earned, maybe push that to 5 million. I don't know. But the point is that you could earn a lot of silver if you're just okay with sitting on product for a while. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this bonus day crap, you might be waiting months for the bonus day. I know the longest I ever had to wait for a stone 20% bonus day was 3 months. 3 freaking months of sitting on inventory, okay? But it happens, and sometimes you'll have a 20% like hide bonus day, and then like 3 days later, it happens again. It's, to my knowledge, this is completely random, and it is not tied on any schedule, to my knowledge. It's not. I have tried to categorize this for the past 2 years, logging every single bonus day, and nothing adds up, nothing matches. It doesn't match the servers, it doesn't match the test server. There is no way for me to know in the future what bonus day will happen when. You just have to log in and check. It can be cumbersome, it can be annoying, and I understand that it isn't for everyone, but it is a way to multiply your earnings. And again, I'm just going to say this because I said it earlier in the video, but journals. Look, even if you don't have islands, you can buy 174 of these stonecutter journals for 111,000, and then the 174 fill journals sells for 287,000. That is free silver. You should never go gathering without journals. I was new at one point, and I still remember feeling so stupid because I spent the first 3 months playing this game not even knowing that journals existed. All right, now as a new player, you can't just go and buy a journal from the laborer because you won't have a laborer. You can go to the market and buy them, and sometimes the market will be out. But people commonly will have journals that they'll see that the market is empty. You could even ask in the chat, hey, can someone buy a bunch of journals and sell them on the market for a markup, and I'll buy them, whatever. These things are infinitely generated. They're not like rare drops or anything. You just go to the laborer and you can buy an infinite number of them. Look, I can buy 47,000 of these Gamekeeper journals, right? For 27 million silver. So yeah, like right now, the estimated market value is actually lower than what the laborer is charging. So there's actually a whole nother market where you can kind of flip these sometimes. Sometimes the market goes empty and you could just, sell them for 1,000 and people will buy them, right? But it is what it is. You just got to do the math and make sure that you're doing it. Now, one other thing that may work on the European server, but probably not on West anymore, is whenever you feed your laborer journals, they level up, okay? And even though your house may be tier 4, 5, or 6, or whatever, and your laborer can out-level your house, and that's not a problem, on Europe, not on West because the market's oversaturated, but on Europe, you can take your leveled up laborer and you could sell it, okay? So right now on West, a tier 8 gamekeeper is worth 174,000. All right, but on Europe, it is probably worth way more. Back in the day, in 2020, I used to sell leveled up laborers for anywhere from 50 to 100,000 each, level 5s. And it only took me 1 week to level them from 2 to 5. 1 week. And, I was doing this by the hundreds, okay? I was leveling hundreds of these suckers every week, so 100 times 50,000 is an additional 5 million silver a week. Insane. But again, because the game is more mature now, that's not really an option for West, and probably not Asia either, because Asia is absolutely min-maxed by the cartels. That server is just a train wreck. But Europe, people are lazy on Europe, so take advantage of it, Euro bros. And now the most important thing is how to never ever be bored while gathering. Number 1, have 2 monitors and watch streams or YouTube videos or movies or whatever you like to watch. You know what you like to watch on your other monitor. This will pass the time immeasurably while you gather. Let me tell you about today. Just today, I gathered for about 1 hour and 40 minutes, mining metal and stone and some fiber. You know what I watched? I watched, what was it called? I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed my level. I watched 5 episodes. So not only did I knock out 5 episodes of a mediocre anime that isn't really that interesting, but I also made 2 million silver doing it at the same time. Good stuff. Next up, listen to music or snack on food. Now, just the other day, I did 2 hours of gathering, made over 2 million silver also. I listened to 2 different albums, and I can't tell you the lyrics, unfortunately. I have a bad memory, but cool, it kept me pumped, it kept me awake, it kept me focused, whatever, right? Number 3, be in a Discord voice chat. Now, this is not something I have done in several years due to lack of friends, but hey, you probably have friends, maybe statistically, possibly. You could be in a Discord voice chat and talk about your day or something. Number 4, chase the Albion journal quests. Look at all these crazy things that you kids can do here. You can gather 100 resources from plentiful resource nodes. 21 out of 100. Oh boy, look at your rewards. Okay, I'm not really an achievement guy or a quest guy. I hate questing. I hate it. But maybe you don't. Number 5, Alt-Tab really fast and, pump out a crap post on a forum somewhere. This is what I generally do on the Chan sites. Number 6, make a gathering habit of when you just wake up or after you get off work or school, or if you're in the middle of a meal and you're not forced to sit at a dinner table with your family or whatever, assuming you have one. Then you can sit there and shovel food in your mouth while your character is hitting the mines. And that's it for gathering. I have taught you everything there is to know. This game is really not that complex at all. Hopefully you learned something. Let me know. Look, I have no life. I read every single comment. And don't believe Reddit. I don't delete comments. I don't moderate comments unless you're a spam bot or a crypto nerd. I don't do any of that stuff. If your comment isn't showing up, it's because you said a naughty word and YouTube removed it. I have no part of that. I have no part. That's YouTube's doing. That's not me. But leave a comment. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I read every single one of them. And finally, click the video on the right side of your screen. If you don't click that video, in the next 2 weeks, there will be a moment when you're out in public that you could be a hero, but you're going to miss it by 10 seconds, and you're going to regret it. You're going to be like, man, I missed my moment.